Hey, welcome to the Elle Rush Show, where we explore ways to get healthy, wealthy, and wise. With a combination of guest interviews and solo episodes, I hope you will be inspired and motivated to become the best of whatever you are. I'm Elle Russ, #1 best-selling author and subject expert with over a decade of helping thousands of people across the globe. Visit my website, elleruss.com, to learn more about free guides, masterclasses, online courses, and more. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Today, I am going to discuss spiritual adulting. I actually wrote a blog post on this, so I'm going to expand on it here. What is spiritual adulting? Like, why would I even put those two terms together? It's the practice of approaching life with a mature, grounded, and spiritually aware mindset. It's really about finding balance and authenticity in our spiritual practices and, of course, our daily interactions, but this will allow us to grow and evolve in a more meaningful way, and I want to prove that to you through this episode. So the first component of this is enjoying rituals without dependency. Okay, so rituals can be a beautiful part of spiritual life. Maybe you burn a sage wand to clean your energy, you're lighting candles. Maybe you're writing a list of things you want to release and then you burn it, as a ritual. There are ritual like cord cutting rituals where you're trying to cut, that I've heard of these where you're trying to release like an ex-boyfriend or, your ex-husband or something like that, and you do this sort of visualization that's like a cord cutting ceremony where you're cutting the cord between you two, and there's all sorts of interesting like rituals and guided meditational rituals that can be a wonderful part of spiritual advancement. But I once met someone who religiously lit a candle every morning as a way to start their day with intention. And now this ritual helped them feel centered and connected, that's for sure. But they also shared that there were days when they couldn't perform that ritual, and then they felt anxious or incomplete, like as if something was missing. And so that right there is a key sign of dependency on rituals rather than seeing them as some optional enhancement to your spiritual practice. So I think true spiritual adulting, in my opinion, involves recognizing that these rituals are tools. They're awesome, but they're not necessities. They're meant to enhance your journey, not define it. So ask yourself, are you engaging in some rituals out of genuine enjoyment and connection? Or are you engaging them because you feel that they are mandatory for your spiritual growth? And if you feel they're mandatory and you're kind of too attached to them and dependent on them, then that's indicating spiritual adolescence. That's where one's faith is still tied to external actions rather than tied to internal understanding. So, how do we embrace responsibility and self-awareness in our spiritual practices? I think a critical component of spiritual adulting is taking full responsibility for your life. So this means acknowledging your strengths, your weaknesses, making conscious choices that align with your values. But for example, a friend of mine decided to leave a high-paying job because it didn't align with their personal values of compassion and integrity. This choice wasn't easy, and it did require a lot of introspection, a lot of courage, but it led to a more fulfilling and authentic life. They were not aligned. They felt like being in this position was compromising their integrity. So, spiritual adulting means being accountable for your actions and their consequences, and it's also about recognizing that while you don't control all circumstances, you have control over your responses, and you have control over the direction you choose to take and get into authentic connections. So I think building authentic relationships is a huge cornerstone of spiritual adulting because this involves being open, honest, and vulnerable with those around you. So I don't know, for example, consider a person who's always saying yes to social invitations because they fear missing out or disappointing others, right? So that's a little bit of a people pleasery type of vibe. Over time, though, that leads to burnout, resentment. So a spiritually mature approach would be involving setting clear boundaries, saying no when necessary. These are the things I talk about night and day in my books, on every podcast, right? Saying no when necessary, communicating your needs honestly. Authentic connections are they mean being present, fully engaged with others rather than sort of just going through the motions. So it's about fostering relationships based on mutual respect, trust, genuine care. Do you need to get yourself into a group coaching program or a coach or a meetup group or a new hobby, something to foster some relationships? Compassion and forgiveness, these are tough. Oh, but they're vital aspects. They're vital aspects of spiritual growth and adulting because compassion and forgiveness allows us to release these negative emotions and move forward with sort of a lighter heart, you know? So, a real life example could be a story of someone, maybe you even, I think maybe we've all been through this perhaps, who forgave a close friend for a betrayal. Maybe it took some time and effort, but they realized that holding on to resentment was only hurting herself. Now, here's the thing, that doesn't mean that when you forgive a close friend for betrayal, you have to still be friends with them. Okay, that's a whole nother choice. I guess I would say in this scenario, for me, it would really depend on the context because if I am betrayed by a friend, it depends on which way it was. I mean, I would be scorched earth with that. I just would not bother. I would move on. You've already proven to me this. There's so many other people in the world that wouldn't. And I guess I'd have to see the circumstance, but I'm a little bit more like betrayal. Nope, you already showed me once. I'll move on to people who I can trust. I'm a little bit more brutal about that. um, and I don't mean like a white lie, right? Like I wouldn't consider that a betrayal, but like a real betrayal. Continual learning and growth. Gosh, I cannot stress the importance of this enough. My grandmother died at 98. Her brain was still lit up because, and she even said at the time, she's like, I think I took too good care of myself. But she was always like, read, read, read. Get your brain challenged. Spiritual adulting is an ongoing journey. Learning, growth, constant. So this requires us to seek out new experiences. We got to reflect on our actions and we must strive for personal spiritual development. And this might involve reading books, attending workshops, listening to podcasts, taking a course, or simply just spending time in self-reflection somewhere quiet, maybe in nature, just seeing what happens. So, look, you could start a meditation practice and find that it brings you unexpected insights into your behavior and thought patterns. That kind of practice can be a gateway to deeper understanding of yourself, to deeper spiritual growth. I think if you have never meditated before, I'll give a couple recommendations. Byron Katie has a CD, iTunes, wherever you can buy it, like on Apple. I think I have it from Apple. And it's just called damn, now I gotta look it up. It's Byron Katie. It's like meditations. So sorry about this lag, but I want to pull it up. Here we go. It's just called Guided Meditations with Katie, the work with Byron Katie. Okay. This shit is gold. This is great. This is very lightly guided, meaning she's guiding you into breath and then gives you time. And just about the time that your mind starts wandering, she'll kind of come in and bring you back. It's lovely. It's amazing. It's wonderful. This is a great starter on just pure meditation. Then there's also guided meditations. If you don't already know, I have a free audiobook with 2 guided meditations and a whole MP3 track on abundance affirmations and confidence affirmations. The guided meditations I have are short and sweet, like 7 minutes. One is on abundance and wealth, and the other is on health and healing. Okay, so you can check that out. You can always go to lruss.com/free stuff, click on the audiobook, and it's legit like an audiobook. It will show up in your iPhone under the audiobooks, and that is free. So maybe you start there or go to YouTube, guided meditations on releasing emotional pain from a breakup, guided meditation on wealth, guided meditation on success, guided meditation on confidence. There's so much out there for you. Maybe that's one way you got to do it if you're not a reader. I feel that at the end of the day, spiritual adulting is about checking in with yourself regularly. Like if we could just narrow it down to one thing, are you checking in with yourself regularly? Are your spiritual practices serving you, or are they rooted in fear and anxiety? Are you taking responsibility for your life and choices, Are you building authentic relationships? These are so important. And listen, I'm all about these rituals. Sometimes I light sage, sometimes I'll light some, Palo Santo. I love that stuff. But it's like, are you gauging in this? What are you gauging in this for? It's almost like, do you feel that there's something outside of you, like some powers that be that won't let it happen unless you burn the candle? Do you know what I mean? So just check in with yourself. I one time, this is not a spiritual thing. I love swimming. I love swimming laps. I haven't done it actually in a while, too long. I'm actually lately been thinking about getting back into it. But I love swimming. And there was a time that I was kind of addicted to swimming, and it was a problem in my life, to be honest with you, because I would travel or wherever I went, I felt like I had to go, at the time, like break into some hotel to swim in their pool. I felt like if I didn't swim every day, it just didn't feel right. Well, that's not realistic life. Like and at the time I didn't have my own swimming pool. So it's not that being addicted to swimming is bad, better that than being addicted to heroin, of course, but it kind of disrupted my life a little bit because it was something I like had to go do. And so I'd have to wake up like extra early before everyone else to go do the thing. And it was like, oh my gosh. And finally I sort of like let that go. I was able to sort of just swim when I want. I loved it, but I didn't feel like if I didn't swim every day, something was wrong with my life. And so just to pan that over to spiritual adulting, is there something in your practice where if you miss it, you feel you're off? You miss it, you feel like, oh, now I'm not going to get the stuff that I've been intending and vibing because I didn't do my ritual. Is it serving you? Like if someone says, hey, wake up every day and write your goals 100 times, like, yeah, there's a story of a Japanese billionaire who did that for an hour every day. First of all, I can't do it. I have a hand disability. There's no way I'm going to handwrite shit for more than a few minutes. It's just not going to happen. Um, I could voice it into the computer and I can do that. But frankly, for me, that doesn't feel good that every single day I would be doing that for an hour. But every single day for me, and my morning routine has changed, but usually it's waking up in bed and just taking a minute. I'm so grateful I'm alive. Thank you for this bed. Thank you for this house, my arms, my eyes, my ears, my hair, you know, my internal organs. Like I go through the whole thing, do a body scan. And then before I get onto email or news or headlines or anything, I'm taking a minute to sort of just intend and also see like, what do I need to do today for me spiritually, psychologically, emotionally? Because sometimes you might have planned something for the day and it's not working. And so I might make adjustments. There's been times where I have woken up and had a shitload of work and things to do, but something fell off. I felt off. Maybe I was just, in a bad way, bad vibe. And it's like, no, 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 no. I'm going to do something different now today. I'm going to change my plan so that I make room to clear whatever this is up. Maybe I need to call a friend. Maybe I need to just go take a sauna and listen to some ocean waves and get out of my head, whatever it is. But are you checking in with yourself daily? Where are you at? And we always know where we're at because how you feeling, your emotions. Are you happy? Are you disappointed? Are you bummed? Are you depressed? I also just want to point out too, being spiritual is not about, I mean, I talk about this a little bit in my second book, Confident as Fuck, but I'm kind of over all the like people that feel that everyone has to be speaking in this voice and calm. And it's like, you know what? I don't live on a hippie fucking commune, okay? And even when I did, which was AKA UC Santa Cruz, it's a school, it's kind of a hippie commune. You can always listen to the episode I did on my hippie university. But I'm not available for that shit. It's like, I swear all the time, I'm a real fucking human being living in this world. Real things happen. It's out of reality to act like that. So unless you are living on a commune, okay, it, it's unrealistic. Be who you are. I'm not going to change myself to deliver any spiritual information to anyone if I have it, if I have something to contribute, anything self-improvement and self-help. It's going to be me talking about it the way I want to talk about it. So I want you to understand that you can still be a shit-talking, swearing, dark sense of sick, twisted humor person like me and be spiritual and have a wonderful spiritual life. It doesn't have to be on the outside. You don't have to wear it on your sleeve. You know what I mean? I'm still going to be really who I am. So you don't have to fit into some mold of some type of persona, some type of delivery. Um, People who are like, I just like nothing affects me. I just don't react. I'm in this. That's psychotic, okay? That's just fuck. I don't even, really like if we think about it, I would look at someone like that and go, I don't know. I mean, the only person really out there in this world, actually two people that I can think of that are like that are famous for it and probably don't have those kind of moments are Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle. So again, both of them, Byron Katie has a very interesting, very strange, unique story that made her who she is now. And she really is this human being. I think though when people follow her work, and I love Byron Katie, I've listened to all of her audiobooks. She's great. And she actually is right up here in Ojai, which is, like an hour drive away from where I am, pretty quick. She's wonderful, but she's sort of an anomaly. And I would be bummed if someone listened to her audiobook and thought, oh, I'm going to try to achieve this level of. It's not that will ever get to the Byron Katie Eckhart Tolle. The striving of it to some degree is worth it because if you think about it, in their non-reaction, that's a very baseline receiving place to decide how you're going to react and what you want to do. But that doesn't mean that if you are affected or you react to things, that something's wrong with you, you're not a spiritual being, you're not being spiritual enough, this really isn't the spiritual way. Sometimes you got to talk some shit to somebody, right? It's not all going to be roses. It's not all going to be wonderful. Of course, do I always suggest to be as diplomatic as possible when delivering information? Yes, you don't want to go up to an employee and go, hey, you're fucking shit. You suck, right? But you could go up and go, hey, look, I've noticed that the last few deadlines haven't been met. This is really important to me and my team and the business. So how can we fix this together? How can I help you? What can we, that's a different approach, right? That's the positive approach versus the berating approach. So there are always little nuances where you can make your reaction or your retort, your reply, and you can make that a little bit tighter and better, but it doesn't all need to be, okay, well, I hear you. Okay, so what I'm hearing is that, sometimes when that's presented to you, and you probably heard this when people are like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I go to these therapists," and they sit there and they just go, "Mm-hmm. So tell me more about that." And you're like, "Oh my God, will you give me something?" Right? I think that's a lot of people's complaints about certain types of therapy or specific therapists. And then I know other people who have therapists who are totally different and definitely tell it like it is and give advice and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying that those people are fake, the people trying to be like, I'm just all love and whatever. They may truly be that way, but that doesn't mean that is the definition of spiritual. So, like, what is that definition? It's elusive and it's personal to you because spiritual to you might mean following an ancient text from one of the major religions. Um, Spirituality to you might mean being a good person, being authentic, and just being kind to others. Um, you can have a completely, entirely personal, private, spiritual life without ever involving anybody. This is all inside of you. And that's also to say that if you see someone and there's some spiritual guru or there's some famous priest or reverend or whatever, that doesn't mean that the thoughts in their head are right either. Just because someone is something on the outside doesn't mean they're thinking it on the inside. And also, on that note, just because someone like me, who's an alpha no shit, right, type of vibe, if someone would probably look at me and go, I bet she's not that spiritual. I feel like I'm pretty freaking woo-woo spiritual. I really do. I really, really do. But again, that's not what is on my sleeve, right? When I am talking to you or in the public or through my books. I mean, you might gather that after you've known me for a while and you've listened to me and you go, no, 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 yeah, she's got this exterior, but she's also had this interior. So what's more important is what's going on the inside, not any fake ass shit on the outside. And I think I just want you to dive into spiritual something of some kind, but don't be afraid or intimidated that somehow you got to be like some of these people. because some of those teachers and speakers are really not my favorite. I do prefer people that really get down to brass tacks and like get into it. A really wonderful way to sort of get into spiritual, if you're like, I don't know what I believe, I don't know what this all means. He's dead now, but Dr. Wayne Dyer, Dyer, is a wonderful author and speaker. The reason I often suggest him, but particularly his audiobooks, is because he's kind of like the dad a lot of people didn't have, or the grandpa you never had. And he's got such a soothing, wonderful voice. One of my favorite audiobooks, I think over the years, gosh, over 15 years, maybe I've listened to it 7 times, is his audiobook called It's Never Crowded Along the Extra Mile. The other audiobook that's very wonderful as well is his interpretation of going through the Tao Te Ching and kind of talking about each verse and feeling, what it means, how it can apply to one's life. That is also a lovely sort of non-denominational spiritual journey. So if you're new to this stuff, I would, look into one of those audiobooks by Dr. Dyer. Maybe some of them are free by now. He also has, of course, plenty of books, and he's got The Power of Intention, The Secrets of the Power of Intention. I mean, I think I've listened to almost every single audiobook he's ever done, but those two really ring true if you want sort of a really lovely spiritual journey guided to you by, a warm, loving dad type of figure who's really lovely. So check yourself. How are you doing spiritually? Is what you're doing serving you? Is it igniting fear and anxiety? What can you change? What do you need to adopt? You have no spiritual nothing. And by spiritual, I don't even mean believing in another entity or the universe or some powers that be there outside of yourself. You can be a complete atheist, but then I would mean spiritual adulting, and a foray into spirituality would be you getting into self-improvement. What are my thoughts? What am I thinking? What are my goals? That, in and of itself, to me, is a spiritual endeavor in some way. So you don't need to believe in gods or, this elusive thing they call law of attraction or any of this kind of stuff. But I do suggest taking some sort of dive into it. All right. Hey, guys, listen, there are so many people listening to this podcast. I'm so grateful. But you know what? I could use a few more reviews on Apple Podcasts. So if you haven't already in your listening journey with me, written a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I would greatly appreciate it. Takes 2 seconds, really helps me out. And of course, if you love any of my episodes, please copy the link and share them with friends. That would help me out. And I so appreciate spreading the word. All right. You can always reach out to me through my website on the contact form. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful summer. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this show, I would so appreciate you leaving a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And to learn more about partner discounts on amazing products, visit lruss.com/discounts.